I think a lot of people are missing the point when it comes to Jordan Love and the point of the 2023 season. It's not to prove he is good. Plus, what positions are truly up for grabs as we enter training camp? We dig into that as the rookies are just days away from reporting and the veterans just a couple days after that. All that on Locked On Packers. It starts right now.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. And we have a really exciting announcement here on Locked On Packers today. And it's something that I can't wait to dive into. I have, along with a lot of my other Locked On hosts, joined Subtext. Subtext is an opportunity for you guys to communicate with me directly. And I think more importantly, for me to communicate directly to you, right to your phone. And it allows me to give you exclusive content, scouting reports. NFL draft time is a great time for this, but observations in game, during game observations, halftime, post game, all kinds of things that I can share with you exclusively. And then we can talk, we can chat. This is like having my cell phone number. So go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnPackers to check it out. It is free to start. So I'm really excited about this. It's going to be just another way for me to get to connect with you guys, another way for you to ask me questions. And it is something that I'm really excited to start. Speaking of really excited, a lot of people are really excited about Jordan Love getting a chance to play this season, finally getting his opportunity to show what he has. And, you know, I've been a little amused at some of the conversations over the last couple of days. And, I thought Dan Orlovsky made a great point about if Jordan Love just plays average, the Packers should be a playoff team, 8, 9, 10 wins. And I'm like, well, yeah, because the Packers got below average quarterback play last year. Okay, that's not the point of this. The idea of Jordan Love being better than Aaron Rodgers, let's set that aside. Even if we're just going to take the better than 2022 Aaron Rodgers, let's set it aside. It doesn't matter right now. This is all about trying to look forward and preview the 2023 season. So we've talked about, okay, what is the worst case scenario outcome? Well, the worst case scenario outcome for the Packers is not, and this is crucial, it's not that Jordan Love sucks. That's not the worst case scenario outcome for the Green Bay Packers. Because if Jordan Love is not good this year, yes, it will reflect poorly on Brian Gutekunst, but I don't think it is going to cause Mark Murphy to say, Brian Gutekunst, you are done. The organization was ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers, period. And Aaron Rodgers was ready to move on from them. This was over. It's done. No one blames you if your rebound after your long-term relationship doesn't work out, right? But if they become the next great love of your life, like Aaron Rodgers did post Brett Favre, everyone's like, this is great. Congratulations. The point of this season, and I mean that, like they're trying to win, yes, and they're trying to perpetuate this winning culture. But what they're trying to do, the aim, is to learn as definitively as they can what Jordan Love is and what Jordan Love isn't. You have to leave this year with a clear understanding of that. And I know that's a little esoteric, but yes, in a perfect world, you leave and he's a superstar. Yeah, of course, that's the best case scenario. That's obvious. Or even he's just like, if we're going to be reasonable, you leave this year and he's good. He's the 14th, the 12th best quarterback in the league, we think. He's in that sort of Kirk Cousins land. That's a great outcome for the Packers. And then you get him on a cheap deal in 2024. And if he performs at that rate again, guess what? He's going to get Kirk Cousins money. He's going to get $30, $40 million guaranteed, because that's just what quarterbacks get paid now. That's a good outcome for the Packers, but it's not the only good outcome. Understanding that Jordan Love is not it is another good outcome. Because this team, as we've said, it's not that they're not trying to win. They are. But they are also in fact-finding mode. The fact that this is the youngest pass-catching battery of the modern age, save for an 0-16 Browns team, is actually a mark in their favor in this way. Because if it doesn't work out this year, if you can't make this work with Jordan Love this year, well, guess what? Now you have Christian Watson in year 3. Hopefully he takes a jump. You've got Romeo Doubs in year 3. Hopefully he takes a jump. You've got Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft going into year 2. This is the time for NFL tight ends when they start to shine. So you can go out. You've got the defense. You've got all the first round picks invested. You've got all the money invested in this defense. You've got your running game. You've got this really good offensive line. If David Bakhtiari plays really well again, you can extend him. And you've got a really quality team that you can just slot in another quarterback. Maybe Kirk Cousins, speaking of, becomes available. Doesn't Minnesota's like, okay, this is not it. This is not working out. We need to go full rebuild. Kirk hits the open market, or they trade him or whatever. Now, they're probably not going to trade him to Green Bay. Maybe Matthew Stafford. There's already some rumblings that things are not super chill in LA, that LA wanted him to take a pay cut. He said, LOL, I just signed this big deal. Why would I do that? And they're like, well, because you're getting old and always hurt, and now you have a serious throwing shoulder or elbow injury. It's not ideal for him. But there are always disgruntled quarterbacks. There's always opportunities on the open market. And if Jordan Love is bad, the Packers are going to have likely 2 first-round picks, including, if Jordan Love is bad, probably a pretty decent first-round pick. Like, they're not going to get into the Caleb Williams, Drake May universe, like this idea that they're going to be a 3-14 team. Even if Jordan Love is bad, like Brett Hundley, they won games with Brett Hundley in 2017. And like, I don't see them being like, I think they won, what did they win? 2 games, 2.5 games. They're not going to be 3-14. They're just not. Like, if he's bad, they'll win 5 or 6 games because the rest of the team is just good enough. And the schedule is a 3rd place schedule. And this division is weird. I think people are losing the thread here. Now, I think I'm being a little uncharitable because I think the people, quote unquote, losing the thread are arguing in bad faith from the start. They're coming from, they're Bears fans, they're Vikings fans, they're Lions fans, they're Cowboys fans, they're whoever, Jets fans, sup. And they're saying, well, Jordan Love, congratulations on quarterback irrelevance. Jordan Love is going to suck. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Knowing that for sure is actually really useful information for the Green Bay Packers. And they're really well set up to plop in whatever quarterback they're going to have an opportunity to get next off season. That is a really good position to be in. Having a pretty good roster with a lot of really high pedigree, young talent, a good coaching staff, at least on offense. That's a good position to be in as a franchise. That's a better position than a lot of teams out there are in. And the Packers, I think, are undervalued in that way right now. Obviously, what you want, if you're the Packers, is for him to play great and you get him on a value contract in 2024 and you make the playoffs this year and he shows a lot and he goes, in a perfect world, you go in the Super Bowl, right? But that's not reasonable. probably not going to happen this year, and that's okay. But all the more reason why he has to be awesome is not what the point of this is. You want to see the high-end flashes. That's the key. Show me the high end. Let's see what the peak could be. I want to see pinnacle Jordan Love. Show me that the week when he has 300 yards passing and 4 touchdowns and he runs one in. Even if it's just once or twice. You want to see that stuff. Like, that's the kind of stuff, by the way, that through a couple seasons now, someone like Justin Fields has just not shown. The high-end passing ability. Show me that. It doesn't have to be consistent. Doesn't have to be MVP. He doesn't have to be in the Pro Bowl. You want to leave this season knowing what Jordan Love is and what he isn't. And so, okay, he is this, and this. Even if the cons has issues in the pocket, has issues with decision-making, has issues seeing the field, because if he shows enough on the positive side, you're going to give him one more season. If he shows a lot on the positive side, he's your franchise player. And if he shows very little on the positive side, you can move on. The only truly bad scenario is what happened with Daniel Jones, and the Packers avoided that by giving him the extension that they gave him. They advanced him the money now. He's going to get paid to be the starter, and then he's going to be the starter in 2024 unless he's absolutely, just cheeks in 2023. You're going to give him the chance in 2024 to avoid the Daniel Jones where, okay, if he's better, if he's the same guy, then you go, okay, this is who you are. This is the ceiling. Thanks, but no thanks. But then if he takes that incremental step, now you have an opportunity to really be something and do something and put it all together. What does that cost? We have to see what it looks like really and truly when we get there. But I think people are misunderstanding that it's not the case that the only good outcome with Jordan Love this year is that he's awesome. That is, of course, the goal. That is the ideal. But it's not the only good outcome. The point of what you're trying to do this season is to know what Jordan Love is and what Jordan Love isn't. All right, more to come here on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Of course it is. Of course it is. Because right now, you can be betting baseball. You can be betting the Open Championship, coffee golf. Let's do this. Take your first swing at betting Major League Baseball at FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet in bonus bets back up to $200. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to the point total to who you think is going to hit the first home run. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I happen to really like right now the Astros, the defending champs, plus 950 to repeat as World Series champs. They have I believe the third longest odds in baseball right now. I think that's silly. If they're healthy and they can get healthy in the second half, those odds are going to plummet. Go get that. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. And thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers your first listen every day. Every day, as I mentioned, we're going to have a Rodgers signature series this week. Hopefully still true. Again, working on some of the scheduling stuff. And then training camp. Training camp is a week away. It's about to start. It's about to go down. So always stay locked with us here on Locked On Packers. So I was looking around this team and I was trying to figure out as we head into training camp, training camp battles, that's the storyline. That's the easy content. You're always going to get your clicks if you write a training camp battle, position battles to watch. That's always, and look, I'm a sucker for it too. I will click every time. Bang, let me see what that is. And the problem, frankly, as a Packers content creator over the years is these conversations have mostly been boring because for most of the last, 15 years, these conversations have mostly been nothing. there's like 1 or 2 spots where you're going, yeah, I don't know who that's going to be. As you look around this team, I know that they're not a Super Bowl contender in the way that they've been in years past, but where exactly are all the jobs that you see up for grabs? So let's try and just do starting jobs. And the way that I was thinking about it was, okay, who's leaving and who's slotting in? I think there's more interesting conversations on defense, but even that is sort of just like we're grasping at it. So, okay, Dean Lowry leaves. Our understanding of the way that this is going to work now, this is based on what we saw in the spring, based on some of the conversations that I've had with people who know, is that we're going to see a 3-down front, a true base. When I say base, generally I'm thinking about the Packers base package, which is going to be nickel, not in fact base, which makes this all confusing. Everydayers will maybe understand what I'm talking about. Hopefully we'll understand what I'm talking about, but we're talking about true 3-down front base. It's going to be TJ Slayton in the nose, Kenny Clark as a defensive end, basically a 5-tech, and Devontae Wyatt as the 3 technique. Now they're going to play some penny fronts. They're going to play some tight fronts. They're going to do some like true 2 interior defensive lineman fronts. They're going to do some weird stuff. I assume in passing situations, it's going to be Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark rushing along the interior, though I think that there are going to be opportunities where it's going to be Devontae Wyatt and Lucas Van Ness, for example, just to give Kenny Clark a breather in those situations. Those spots aren't really up for grabs. Like, that's what it's going to be. There isn't really anyone challenging any of those guys for any of those spots, at least at this moment. And I don't think Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks were drafted to really be like, well, go beat out Devontae Wyatt. Like, I don't think that's happening. Now, there is an interesting conversation about who's going to start opposite Preston Smith at defensive end, or at outside linebacker, edge. That's why I normally just default to edge. But it's not that interesting because it's Rashawn Gary's job when he's healthy. So we're talking about a backup. Like they're going to be a week 1 starter, but it's a backup. So it's probably going to be Kingsley Enagbare. Could Lucas Van Ness win that job? Yeah, sure he could. And I wouldn't be surprised if, we get to week 1 and he's the starter. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I wouldn't be surprised by, Kingsley Enagbare is the nominal starter in week 1 and Lucas Van Ness outsnaps him week 1, week 2, and then by week 3, week 4, he's the actual starter. None of that would surprise me. We'll see when Rashawn Gary is actually ready to get on the field. But that's not a great position battle because we're not even talking about a preferred starter. We know who the starting inside backers are. We know who the starting corners are. And right now, it seems like Eric Stokes may not be ready to go training camp. So it's going to be Jair Alexander and Russell Douglas on the outside. And Matt LaFleur has said that the nickel, that star position, is Keyshawn Nixon's to lose. That he's going to be given the chance to go win that job. So not really a position battle because they don't have another guy that you're going, yeah, that guy. Now, if Eric Stokes were healthy, then maybe you'd be saying, okay, well, maybe they could rotate Darnell Savage in there. They could rotate Jair Alexander in there. Russell Douglas, we know, has the experience having played there. Maybe in different matchups, you'd move him in there against big body tight ends. Maybe that's the way that you want to go with Sewell versus someone like Keyshawn. But that's not a battle. And then at safety, I guess, that's a poo-poo platter of safeties. It's 4 backups or 4 guys who at some point in the last year, their team decided you're not a starter. Darnell Savage benched, Rudy Ford benched, Tarvarius Moore not a starter, Jonathan Owens only a starter through injury, and a bad one at that last year by Pro Football Focus grade. So someone's going to start. Technically, that is a position battle. But it's a pretty weak battle. This is like, this is like James Corden doing a rap battle. Like, this is not high level stuff here. So I think it is an important one. Is it going to be something that we look back on and we go, man, that was fun? Wasn't it fun deciding which one of these three backups was going to start next to the other guy who got benched last year? Like Darnell Savage is going to start. So that's not really a position battle. It's Rudy Ford, Tarvarius Moore, and Jonathan Owens. And then Anthony Johnson Jr., of course, is I think the guy that I would like to see get an opportunity. I don't know if he's actually going to get an opportunity. He had a very quiet spring. Would love that when the pads come on, he shines the brightest and makes a bunch of plays in preseason and he gets an opportunity to start. I think he's potentially the most talented guy that they have at that spot. I think by week 5, week 6, week 8, he could be your starter. Maybe that's because just like all the other guys got benched. That's a position I'm going to be watching for sure, but it's not a position battle that I think is particularly fun. So what did we land on? On defense. Is there one? Is there one? Okay, maybe there is on offense. Let's see if there is on offense. We'll do that in a second here on Locked On Packers. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers your first listen every day, everydayers. Go check out what we're doing over at The Leap. I had my latest piece on our roster breakdown series. Go check that out. We're almost done with that. And then it's going to be training camp stuff. It's going to be storylines. It's going to be actual football news over at The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. And then we have Locked On Sports Today. The biggest stories in sports. Now is the perfect time. If you're not watching it on YouTube, because it's there on YouTube, if you're not subscribed in your feed, get caught up on baseball. Have you been paying attention? The Brewers are back doing stuff. Football is about to start. You want to get up to date on everything going up around the league? We've got that for you on Locked On Sports Today. So, okay. Offense. Who did they lose? Well, Big Bob Tunyon. Mercedes Lewis. Okay. They drafted 2 top 100 tight ends. And from the word go, Luke Musgrave is your tight end 1. Not really a position battle. Like you could say Luke Musgrave versus Tucker Kraft, but we're talking about 2 guys fighting for 2 spots. So not a particularly interesting positional battle. And it seems like Luke Musgrave clearly has the advantage here. Okay. After this, though, it starts to get interesting because the receiver spots are actually going to be legitimately fun. This is the most fun conversation here. You lose Randall Cobb. Who's going to play in the slot? Who's going to play in the slot? Forget wide receiver 3. Who's going to play in the slot? How much is it going to be Luke Musgrave? How much is it going to be Christian Watson, who was in there like almost a third of the time late in the year last year, trying to get vertical in this offense, to insist, to demand that safeties run with you deep. If you're going to play quarters coverage, safety's got to carry number 3. If you got Christian Watson, who's a 4-3 guy who corners can't stay with, chances are your safeties can't run with him either. So, okay, get your speed guy in the slot. Now, they think Jaden Reed is really fast. Luke Musgrave is also very fast. You've got Romeo Doubs. He can run. He can get vertical. That was his best trait at Nevada, was getting vertical. So they have a Dontavian Wicks. His best trait at UVA was getting vertical. They have a lot of guys, but who is the most true slot? The Randall Cobb 1-for-1. It's Jaden Reed. Alan Lazard gone. Okay, probably just going to be a lot of Christian Watson reps, a lot of Romeo Doubs reps, some Luke Musgrave, some Tucker Kraft. I think some sneaky Kraft in there with the Lazard reps because of the blocking, because of the run after catch stuff that they can do with Lazard last year that they'll do this year with Kraft. This wide receiver 3 battle, like there's the slot piece, but then also, is it going to be wide receiver 3? Let's just do pass catcher 3. Luke Musgrave. This is a pecking order thing, not really a positional thing, but I think it is in the spirit of this exercise. Who's going to be the 3rd most targeted pass catcher? Because last year, Aaron Jones was the 2nd most targeted player on offense after Alan Lazard. It was Aaron Jones. And so he's going to get a lot of targets. A.J. Dillon is going to get a bunch of targets in this offense. But in terms of true pass catchers, who is going to be that other guy after Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs? Luke Musgrave? Samori Toure? Could he be the slot? and we mentioned him in the slot conversation, is it Grant Dubose, who we didn't see all spring because he was hurt. What is that? Who is going to step up and be in those positions? That's what's really fascinating to me. And that is the battle that I think everyone is going to be watching in the summer. It is the one that is going to be the easiest to spot before the pads come on, because we're going to get one-on-ones. We're going to see 7-on-7. We're going to see Family Night. We're going to see preseason. These guys are going to be able to make plays in front of our eyeballs. It's not going to take any nuanced understanding of offensive line play, or, quarterbacks can be notoriously tricky because you don't know what he's supposed to be looking at and seeing and all those things. Receivers make plays. They're open. They make plays or they don't. They get the ball or they don't. They catch and run or they don't. This is going to be the most fun storyline coming into camp, because I don't really care about the breathless Jordan Love updates at this point. I really don't, because he's had enough practice. He's played in a lot of these, and not training camps, but camps, mini camps, OTAs, and then a lot of reps during the season as the starter. I don't really care. I'm not going to be worried if he is having issues, because he saw Aaron Rodgers test people's limits, go up and throw the ball into coverage and just see if your guy can come down with it. That's the thing he watched Aaron Rodgers do. And if he kills it, I'm also just not going to be that interested, because until the games start, it doesn't matter. Now, are we going to talk about it every single day on the show? Did Jordan Love do good? Did Jordan Love do bad? And what does it mean? Yeah, we probably are, because that's fun, and because I think you want that, and because I think that is an interesting thing to just talk for 10 minutes about. How did Jordan Love do today? Does it matter? Nah, probably not. But let's talk about it. Why? What? Who? How? Let's look at this. So there's always an angle. But until Jordan Love is on the field in the regular season, I'm just sort of wake me up in September. But the receivers, I'm stoked. I'm stoked to see this right now today. Can we start? Can we do it? Can we go right now? I want to see these guys right now. Can we do that? We can't. We gotta wait. Bummer. All right, back tomorrow. A lot more here on Locked On Packers. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And anytime you want to come hang out with us live on our YouTube page, when we go live, we're going to be doing that in just a couple weeks here after the first preseason game, so you can stay Locked On Packers.